Hey friends, I'm here. I'm going to try to read from my computer. So if it starts slowing down, just shoot me a message or something and I'll try to fix it. How we doing tonight? Did y'all have a great day? My next door neighbors have been burning leaves all day long. And so there's a lot of smoke around our house and inside of our house. So it's smelling really smoky over here. So, hey, Christina. Having another cup of coffee, and yes, I am enjoying it. We're learning lots about this great Wizard of Oz, a great and terrible. He's been quite the deceiver for the last few years. Hey, Christina, how are you? So, yeah, it's been fun to watch. And for those of you that are watching now, there's actually, you can find on the Library of Congress, it's called read.gov. Actually, the Wizard of Oz is on there for free. And it's a very, very old edition. But you can look through the pages. It's really cool to kind of look through it. So that was pretty nice to be able to see that. So that was a fun thing to find. Hey, Sammy, how are you? So I can share the website that has the Wizard of Oz on there. So it is, let me see if I can stick it on here. Let me know if you can find it real quick. I can post it in here. So that is where I'm going to read from today. I'm going to try to read from the website. We'll see how it works. So I don't know exactly how it's going to work. Can you hear me okay, Sammy and Christina? Can you see me, hear me, all that good? Okay, yay. So what did y'all read today? You got to do free reading of your choice. I know Caroline read a cute book. Can't remember what it was called. I wrote me a little write-up about it. Sammy, did you read Dog Man? Did you read a little bit of Dog Man? Christina, what did you read today? Skipper and Sky. Oh, I've never heard of that. Can't wait to read your little write-up about it and see what it's about. Dog Man, Brawl of the Wild. Good job, Sammy. This Dog Man, he sounds pretty silly. Who else is here with us tonight? Where are you tuning in from? I'd love to hear. I am in my bedroom. It's the quiet place at this house. And I'm hoping I still have good connection so that you can see and hear me. Serena, nice to have you with us, Serena. Did y'all do the parade today for Julie? I noticed that Miss Strong was saying that y'all did a birthday parade for Julie because her birthday was last month. That's so sweet, so exciting. So let me see. This is flipping. Okay. Looks like it's going to work, hopefully. We'll see if I can see it well. Hope everyone's doing well tonight. It's about 6:59. We'll start about 7:02, 7:03. I don't want you to have to wait any longer than you have to. I really enjoy this. Thanks for tuning in. You made anything special today? I had some leftover apple, not cobbler, not what is it? It was a crisp, but it was leftover, so it wasn't very crispy, but it was yummy. So lots of apples and brown sugar and oats and butter and brown sugar. So good. So I enjoyed that. Anybody else have anything fun going on? Oh, Call of the Wild. I think that our new puppy, Bear, kind of looks like the dog from Call of the Wild. Or, hey, Serena, how are you? Glad to have you with us. Call of the Wild, and what's the other one? There's another book. Balto. Those are the Alaskan sled dogs that run the big race. Adirondack? No, that's a mountain range. What is it? I'm confused. Anyway, Balto was the one that delivered the medicine to Nome, Alaska. Pretty amazing story. Call of the Wild, White Fang. That's another one of the famous classic dog books. Okay, 7 o'clock. One more minute. I think we're going to go ahead and get started. It says I have 5 people viewing, so thanks for tuning in. I'm going to read from my computer today. I do have my book with me just in case we have some kind of crash, but I'm going to try to read it from the Library of Congress, their free copy for us. So we ended yesterday with the great and terrible, powerful Oz admitting to the 4 friends that he has been what he called a humbug. Basically, he has been not truthful with all the people in his country, all the people in his city. He's been deceiving them, pretty much lying to them for a very long time. He is very smart and he's very inventive, but he is not who he says he is. He says he's a powerful wizard and has all these powers, but he really has revealed to us that he does not. He finished with, he made his promise to Scarecrow, the Tin Woodman, and the Lion, and Dorothy. And he says he's going to make good on his promises. So we'll see if he does. So chapter 16 is called The Art of the Great Humbug. And I'll show you the title of it. It is called The Magic Art of the Great Humbug. So we're talking about the actual skills of the wizard. So here we go, ladies and gentlemen. The next morning, the Scarecrow said to his friends, "Congratulate me! I am going to Oz to get my brains at last. When I return, I shall be as other men are." Hey, Tut boys, I'm glad you're here. So he said he will be just like all the other men. "I have always liked you as you were," said Dorothy simply. "It is kind of you to like a scarecrow," he replied, "but surely you will think more of me when you hear the splendid thoughts my new brain is going to turn out." Then he said goodbye to them all in a cheerful voice and went to the throne room, where he rapped upon the door. "Come in," said Oz. The Scarecrow went in and found the little man sitting down by the window, engaged in deep thought. "I have come for my brains," remarked the Scarecrow, a little uneasily. "Oh, yes, sit down in that chair, please," replied Oz. "You must excuse me for taking your head off, but I shall have to do it in order to put your brains in their proper place." "Hey, Lena, how are you? Hey, Welling family." He just said he's going to take the Scarecrow's head off, because we know that brains are in the head, so the Scarecrow's about to lose his head. Eek. "Oh, yes. That's all right," said the Scarecrow. "You are quite welcome to take my head off, as long as it will be a better one when you put it on again." So the wizard unfastened his head and emptied out the straw. Then he entered the back room and took up a measure of bran, which he mixed with a great many pins and needles. Having shaken them together thoroughly, he filled the top of the Scarecrow's head with the mixture and stuffed the rest of the space with straw to hold it in place. When he had fastened the Scarecrow's head on his body again, he said to him, "Hereafter you will be a great man, for I have given you a lot of brand new brains." Do you hear what he did there? He put bran in there and called it brand new brains. So funny. The Scarecrow was both pleased and proud at the fulfillment of his greatest wish, and having thanked Oz warmly, he went back to his friends. Dorothy looked at him curiously. His head was quite bulging out at the top with brains. "How do you feel?" she asked. "I feel wise indeed," he answered earnestly. "When I get used to my brains, I shall know everything." "Why are those needles and pins sticking out of your head?" asked the Tin Woodman. "That is proof that he is sharp," remarked the Lion. "Well, I must go to Oz and get my heart," said the Woodman. So he walked to the throne room and knocked at the door. "Come in," called Oz, and the Woodman entered and said, "I have come for my heart." "Very well," answered the little man, "but I shall have to cut a hole in your breast so that I can put your heart in the right place. I hope it won't hurt you." "Oh, no," answered the Woodman. "I shall not feel it at all." So Oz brought a pair of tinning shears, and cut a small square hole in the left side of the Tin Woodman's breast. Then, going to a chest of drawers, he took out a pretty heart made entirely of silk and stuffed with sawdust. Isn't it a beauty?" he asked. "It is indeed," replied the Woodman, who was greatly pleased. "But is it a kind heart?" "Hey, Faith, how are you?" "Oh, very," answered Oz. He put the heart in the Woodman's breast and then closed the square of tin, soldering it neatly together where it had been cut. "There," said he. "Now you have a heart that any man might be proud of. I'm sorry I had to put a patch on your breast, but it really couldn't be helped." "Never mind the patch," exclaimed the happy Woodman. "I am very grateful to you and shall never forget your kindness." "Don't speak of it," replied Oz. Then the Tin Woodman went back to his friends, who wished him every joy on account of his good fortune. The Lion now walked to the throne room and knocked at the door. "Come in," said Oz. "I have come for my courage," announced the Lion, entering the room. "Very well," answered the little man. "I will get it for you." He went to a cupboard and, reaching up to a high shelf, took down a square green bottle, the contents of which he poured into a green gold dish, beautifully carved. Placing this before the Cowardly Lion, who sniffed at it as if he did not like it, the Wizard said, "Drink." "What is it?" asked the Lion. "Well," answered Oz, "if it were inside of you, it would be courage. You know, of course, that courage is always inside one, so that this really cannot be called courage until you have swallowed it. Therefore, I advise you to drink it as soon as possible." So he can only have courage if it's inside him. And right now it's outside of him, so he's going to have to drink it. The Lion hesitated no longer, but drank till the dish was empty. "How do you feel now?" asked Oz. "Full of courage," replied the Lion, who went joyfully back to his friends to tell them of his good fortune. Oz, left to himself, smiled to think of his success in giving the Scarecrow and the Tin Woodman and the Lion exactly what they thought they wanted. "How can I help being a humbug," he said, "when all these people make me do things that everyone knows can't be done?" It was easy to make the Scarecrow and the Lion and the Woodman happy because they imagined I could do anything. But it will take more time than imagination to carry Dorothy back to Kansas. And I'm sure I don't know how it can be done. And that's all of chapter 16. So it ended with the Scarecrow and the Tin Woodman and the Lion getting exactly what they wanted because they were convinced that Oz could give it to them, even though they already had everything that Oz was supposed to give to them inside of them. Brains, thinking, a tender heart, which the Woodman had, and courage. Obviously, the Lion had courage. But Oz is thoroughly convinced that he's going to have to think really long and hard about getting Dorothy back to Kansas. And he's not even sure that he can do it. So, is it real courage, heart, and brains? He didn't put a real brain in there. He didn't put a real heart in there. And courage is something that you have to, within yourself, motivate yourself to be. So, he didn't put real hearts and brains and courage inside of them. They all had it in them already. Those aren't things that you can actually touch. Well, you could touch a brain, and he wasn't wanting a brain. He was wanting to be able to think and reason. And the Tin Woodman wasn't actually wanting a heart. He was wanting to be able to feel compassion and kindness towards other people. So all of that was already inside of them. They showed those characteristics on the trip already. So they got what they wanted because they already pretty much had it inside of them. So I'm wondering, should we go on to 17? I don't know how long 17 is. Oh, we have time. Let's go ahead and move to chapter 17 as well. I think we can get this one in. Chapter 17 is not going to be very long at all either, I don't think. Chapter 17 is called How the Balloon Was Launched. Now, you remember that the wizard got to Oz because he said he was a balloon artist, right? He could fly balloons. So I'm thinking that that's what is going to happen for Dorothy. So chapter 17, we'll move right on along. For 3 days, Dorothy heard nothing from Oz. These were sad days for the little girl, although her friends were all quite happy and contented. The Scarecrow told them there were wonderful thoughts in his head, but he would not say what they were because he knew no one could understand them but himself. When the Tin Woodman walked about, he felt his heart rattling around in his breast, and he told Dorothy he had discovered it to be a kinder and more tender heart than the one he had owned when he was made of flesh. The Lion declared he was afraid of nothing on earth, and he would gladly face an army of men or a dozen of the fierce Kaladas. Remember, those were the people that they were fighting. Thus, each of the little party was satisfied except Dorothy, who longed more than ever to get back to Kansas. On the 4th day, to her great joy, Oz sent for her, and when she entered the throne room, he said pleasantly, "Sit down, my dear. I think I have found the way to get you out of this country." "And back to Kansas?" she asked eagerly. "Well, I'm not sure about Kansas," said Oz, "for I haven't the faintest notion which way it lies. But the first thing to do is to cross the desert, and then it should be easy to find your way home." "How can I cross the desert?" she inquired. "Well, I'll tell you what I think," said the little man. "You see, when I came to this country, it was in a balloon. You also came through the air being carried by a cyclone. So I believe the best way to get across the desert will be through the air. Now, it is quite beyond my powers to make a cyclone, but I've been thinking the matter over, and I believe I can make a balloon." "How?" asked Dorothy. "A balloon," said Oz, "is made of silk, which is coated with glue to keep the gas in it. I have plenty of silk in the palace, so it will be no trouble for us to make the balloon. But in all this country, there is no gas to fill the balloon with to make it float." "If it won't float," remarked Dorothy, "it will be of no use to us." "True," answered Oz, But there is another way to make it float, which is to fill it with hot air. Hot air isn't as good as gas, for if the air should get cold, the balloon would come down in the desert and we should be lost. We? Exclaimed the girl. Are you going with me? Yes, of course, replied Oz. I am tired of being such a humbug. If I should go out of this palace, my people would soon discover I am not a wizard, and then they would be vexed with me for having deceived them. So I have to stay shut up in these rooms all day, and it gets tiresome. I'd much rather go back to Kansas with you and be in a circus again. I shall be glad to have your company, said Dorothy. Thank you, he answered. Now, if you will help me sew the silk together, we will begin to work on our balloon. So Dorothy took a needle and thread, and as fast as Oz cut the strips, so I got a message. As soon as Oz cut the strips of silk into proper shape, the girl sewed them neatly together. First, there was a strip of light green silk, then a strip of dark green, and then a strip of emerald green. For Oz had a fancy to make the balloon in different shades of the color about them. It took 3 days to sew all the strips together, but when it was finished, they had a big bag of green silk more than 20 feet long. Then Oz painted it on the inside with a coat of glue to make it airtight, which he announced that the balloon was ready. But we must have a basket to ride in, he said. So he sent the soldier with the green whiskers for a big clothes basket, which he fastened with many ropes to the bottom of the balloon. When it was all ready, Oz sent word to his people that he was going to make a visit to a great brother Oz who lived in the clouds. The news spread rapidly throughout the city, and everyone came to see the wonderful sight. Again, not being truthful. Come on, Oz, get it together. Oz ordered the balloon carried out in front of the palace, and the people gazed upon it with much curiosity. The Tin Woodman had chopped a big pile of wood, and now he made a fire of it, and Oz held the bottom of the balloon over the fire so that the hot air that arose from it would be caught in the silken bag. Gradually, the balloon swelled out and rose into the air until finally the basket just touched the ground. So it's just hanging there. Then Oz got into the basket and said to all the people in a loud voice, I am now going away to make a visit. While I am gone, the Scarecrow will rule over you. I command you to obey him as you would me. The balloon was by this time tugging hard at the rope that held it to the ground, for the air within it was hot, and this made it so much lighter in the weight than the air without it pulled hard to rise it into the sky. Come, Dorothy, cried the wizard. Hurry up, or the balloon will fly away. I can't find Toto anywhere, replied Dorothy, who did not wish to leave her little dog behind. Toto had run into the crowd to bark at a kitten, and Dorothy at last found him. She picked him up and ran toward the balloon. She was within a few steps of it, and Oz was holding out his hands to help her into the basket, and then crack went the ropes, and the balloon rose into the air without her. Come back, she screamed. I want to go too. I can't come back, my dear, called Oz from the basket. Goodbye, goodbye. Everyone shouted, goodbye, goodbye. And all eyes were turned upward to where the wizard was riding in the basket, rising every moment farther and farther and farther into the sky. And that was the last any of them ever saw of Oz, the wonderful wizard, though he may have reached Omaha safely and be there now for all we know. But the people remembered him lovingly and said to one another, Oz was always our friend, and when he was here, he built for us this beautiful Emerald City. And now he is gone. He has left the wise Scarecrow to rule over us. Still, for many days, they grieved over the loss of the wonderful wizard and would not be comforted. And that's all of 17. So Oz is gone. The wonderful Wizard of Oz is gone. And Dorothy is still stuck in the Emerald City, thinking she has no hope. And now the Scarecrow, who had no brains at the beginning of our story, is now the wise leader of all of Emerald City. So let's see what chapter 18 will be called. 18, ladies and gentlemen, is called Away to the South, and we will read that tomorrow night. Thanks for tuning in. Have a great evening. See you all later. Many blessings.